Hi, my name is Sarah Stumpf. I am a collection management librarian here at the Rockford Public Library, and I want to introduce you guys to our 45-star United States flag. So this particular flag was flown, we believe, over the original Carnegie Library here in Rockford, sometime between the building's opening in 1903 and early 1908, when Oklahoma was admitted into the Union and the flag changed from having 45 stars to having 46 stars. So that's the era that we're talking about. This is the kind of flag that would have flown during the Spanish-American War. So when Teddy Roosevelt is riding up the hills, charging up the hill with the Rough Riders, and Puerto Rico becomes a territory, this would have been the flag that flew here on the river over the dome of the big Carnegie building. This particular flag was held by a group called the Friends of the Former Carnegie Building, and it was given back to the library in 2007 for preservation. So at that point, it was probably at least 100 years old and change. This particular flag still has the 13 stripes to represent the 13 original colonies, but at the time that the 45-star flag was in use, there were no standardization rules about how American flags were supposed to look. So how fat or thin the stripes were, how the stars were laid out. Some were in lines, some were in spirals or circles were common of this era. So we're going to show you this flag, and you can see this is how this particular flag has its 45 stars laid out. But until 1912, they really didn't care how you put a flag together as long as it had those elements. Think of now as the flag code, which was adopted in the 1920s and then standardized into law in the 1950s, things that say how a flag is supposed to be folded, how it's supposed to be displayed, how it's supposed to be disposed of. Those don't apply to this. This flag predates any sort of rules like that about how flags are supposed to be handled. The way that we handle this one is clean hands. Sometimes people wonder, why are you not using gloves for some of these old historical items? And actually, gloves are not as good as just your own clean fingers. As long as you're washing your hands regularly, you're not going to damage fabric or paper unless it's extraordinarily fragile. And having gloves sometimes means that you don't feel when something is about to rip as easily, so you actually can accidentally cause more damage with gloves than if you just wash your hands. One of the stories that comes to us with this flag is that it flew over the White House at some point and then was returned to Rockford. We're still trying to corroborate that story and make sure that's actually what happened. We don't have documentation for that, but we do know that it was given back to the library in 2007 for safekeeping and preservation by a group that had existed to preserve the legacy of the former Carnegie building here along the river. And when you see photos of that Carnegie building, you'll see a flagpole at the very top of the dome. And this either is the flag that you're seeing in those photos or something substantially similar to this. Thank you for joining us to learn about this flag and about our Rockford area local history here at the Rockford Public Library.